Hello. In this video, we're going to review wiring with breadboards. All right. So for today, the first thing we're going to do is look at some terms. We'll talk about the types of solderless breadboards. Um, we'll go over some series circuits examples and parallel circuit examples, and then combination circuit examples of how to take a schematic and then wire it using a breadboard. All right, so the first thing that we're going to look at is a solderless breadboard. So this is a solderless breadboard over here. This is also one here. This is an example of what we're going to do when we get to the lab. If we look at this, you'll notice that there's a bunch of sockets or holes here that we can plug our components into. And if I get out of this for just a second, once we're on here, what we're going to find is that these are connected, so there's continuity here all down this row. And so for this particular breadboard, each row, or I should say column, each column, they're all connected internally. And so on here, we're going to kind of draw them, and then I'll expand this out. And so if we looked and we did a continuity check, all of these that I've highlighted in yellow would all be connected together. Same thing for the blue. Over here on the other side, those would be, again, only connected in the columns. They wouldn't be connected anywhere else. And this is going to be true for the whole board. And so I'm just going to highlight a few of these. And so if we look here, what we'll see is that these are all connected. So if, for example, I had a resistor, so let's say that I have a resistor here, and I wanted to connect it to a power supply. I'll just show it as a power supply right now. What I could do is I could connect this resistor here to the yellow and here to the purple. And if I looked at this spot here as being the yellow, then anything else that needed to be connected to that spot, I would plug into that connection point. And then if we assumed that this was all the purple connection, if I had a battery, so let's say that I have a battery, so on my battery I have the the terminals here. Let's make them here, and then I have I'm too close to the picture. This is negative and this is positive. Then I could connect. I'd make a connection from here to the yellow, and it's not going to let me do it here. So let me pull this out here. So this is the positive, make this black. And then I connect that to the positive to the yellow. That would be this connection. And then the negative, I want to connect over here to the purple. And so that's how I would make the connection to connect this circuit. I have a battery and a resistor to the breadboard. And we'll look at some more examples of that in a minute. The next thing we want to review is continuity. So on our meter, when we do a continuity check, the thing that we're looking for is this symbol. We'd see this symbol on our meter. That would indicate that we're doing a continuity check. And so if we remember, if I have a wire and I have my meter here, and I connect the positive here and the negative here. This is like an ohm meter check. We get continuity, which means that we have a beep. When we get the beep, that means we have continuity when there is 0 ohms of resistance. Now, technically, it's probably like 0 to, depending on the meter, like 200 ohms, but it means that we have a connection. Continuity means connection. If I had my meter and I was connected to, let's say, like a piece of wood, and I did the same connection, positive, negative, I would get no beep, and that means that I have OL for my resistance. So look, if we look down here, I'm going to show a little example of what we did in the lab. And if I hit play, I'm going to show doing a continuity test between these different pins. So here, I'm going to take my meter, and the first thing I'm going to do is put it on continuity check. Now on this meter, it has diode and continuity check in the same location. And so if you look up here, the first one that it went to was diode check. I don't want to do a diode check, so I'm going to have to hit the select button. I also notice that my leads aren't connected in the right spot. This meter will show us that our leads are connected correctly. So I have the leads in the right spot, and then I'm still on diode, so I'm going to go up here and hit select. Now I'm in continuity check. Anytime we do a continuity check, the first thing that we would want to do is touch the leads together, and we should hear a beep. And so when we touch the leads together, you can't hear it on the video because I turned off the sound, but when they're connected, I should hear a beep. When they're disconnected, I would not hear a beep. Okay, and then I can plug in probes and I can do some continuity checks on the board, which is exactly what we're going to do when we get to the lab. All right, so here is a couple of types of breadboards. This is a little one. This one is about 2 inches by 2 inches. It's used for hobby projects or for small specialty circuits. This is more of a general purpose breadboard. And what we'll notice on this breadboard is they have this long, it has the normal grid here, and you'll see that there's numbers on here. The one that we have in the lab, it's numbered 1 through 65, and then every 5 spots there's a number. So we have 1, 5, 10, and then there's letters over here, and it forms kind of like a grid, kind of like Battleship. So we have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. And so in the lab, it'll say, for example, connect it to J15, let's say, for example. So we'd go here, J is here, and then 15, so that would be that spot right there. If we needed to connect to F20, so here is F and here is 20, that would be that spot. Now if you look here on this one, and I'm going to zoom back onto here so I can write on this a little bit better. So on here, the same thing, these are connected down here like this, just like on this one. These ones are connected here. And so each of these columns is connected, but they're not connected. There's a break right here, and so they're not connected across this way. It's just these 5 that are connected. Now, one thing that is a little bit different on this board is it has the positive and negative here, and so these are all connected all the way down this board, and I can't draw a very straight line, so you'll just have to bear with me here. Those are all connected. Now on some boards, there's like a break, and so if you looked at the board, you'd see like a break here. So this line would only go to here, and then there'd be a break in the blue, and then these would be connected. if that was the case for this board, now some of our other ones that we have are like this, then these would be connected together, and then this one over here, these would all be connected. And so you'd have to look at the break. So if we look here on our board that we have, we don't have any breaks, so all of these blue ones are connected all the way down, and all the red ones are connected all the way down. Now, this positive is not connected to this positive. So in the lab, what we're going to do is we're going to put a jumper in here, and that's what this jumper is showing here. This is part of the lab, and so we put these jumpers in, so that way all of our in the lab, this is going to be all of our plus 9 volts is going to be connected to the red. Probably should draw that red. And then the 0 volts, or the DC negative, is going to be connected to the negative there. So if you look at this video here, this is kind of a quick version. We'll notice that we have a battery here. The positive lead off the battery, so the plus 9 volts is connected to the positive. The 0 volts, or the negative, is connected to the blue. And so all the way down on those, they're connected, and then this black wire jumpers over, so the negatives are connected on both sides and the positives are connected on both sides. That's a pretty typical setup for a breadboard, is to have the power supplies on the outside. Now if you notice here, we have a wire going to a button, and then if we kind of watch here, it'll go through me kind of making these connections that we're going to do in the lab to connect one of the circuits. And so we're hooking up the power supply. It goes through a resistor to a diode and then back to the negative. And you can kind of see here, this is how you would populate it. We'll go through it in a little bit more detail when we get to the lab part. But this is what a wired circuit would look like connected to a breadboard. All right, so let's start off with a series example. Okay, so we'll start off. First thing that we'll have is a DC supply. So let's say for this one that it's a 5-volt supply, or actually, let's make it a 9-volt so it matches what we're going to do in the lab. And then we'll make my resistors here. So this will be our R1. Then we'll have another resistor connected here. This one is going to be R2. And then what we're going to do is we're going to have an ammeter. So this is kind of like what we did quite a bit in basic electricity. And then those would be connected back. All right. So this is our example of a series circuit. So I have the 2 resistors and an ammeter. Okay, so what I'm going to do first is I'm going to draw the ammeter. If this will let me. Really doesn't like me drawing too close to those pictures, so I'm going to just draw it down here. So here is my, oops, let's try this again. Actually, maybe we'll put it over here. All right, so here is my multimeter, and I'm going to have it set on, oops, milliamps. That's really hard to see. Make this a little bit bigger. Okay. All right, so it's set on milliamps. And then over here, I'm going to have a battery. And I have a positive and a negative there. All right, so let's start off. And this one doesn't have a grid on it. So we'll just, we'll make one. So this is 1, then we have 2, 3, 4. Let me see here. So I got 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. And then we'll say, oops. And then, let's see if I can get this to work again. So then this is going to be A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J. Okay, so here's my grid. And all right, so let's start off and put in our resistors. So for my resistors, I need it to be not connected. Okay, so I'm going to start off with the first resistor here. So this is my R1. Okay, R1 has 2 leads on it, and I'm going to connect that lead. I'm going to connect one of them to here, and then I'm going to connect the other one here. So if I was making this circuit and I connected my resistor there, this connection point here would be J23. So this would be J3, and this one would be J6, 7, 8. Okay, so now if we look here, and I could have just, as long as they weren't in the same row, I could have picked just about any spot for that resistor. So if I look here, the positive on my supply, okay, that's the positive here, that's this spot here, has to be connected to J3. So I'm going to connect, or actually, it needs to be connected to this over here. So what I would do is I can connect that here. Because these are all connected, that would work. And the next one that I need to do is connect R2 to R1. Now this one is connected here, so my choices would be any of those. So if I had my other resistor, so let's say that this is R2, I would need to connect this one to, I can't pick J8, but I can pick, I could pick F8, or this would be FGH. So this would be, so if I look here, this one would be H8. And then I didn't write this other one. Plus is in H3. Now I have to pick another spot for that resistor. So I'm going to bring this one down here. We'll connect it here, and then that would be H15. Now my milliamp meter, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'll have the red lead. I'm not sure why this isn't working. Having some problems with my pen here. So let's put these on here. This would be my red lead. The red lead is the positive, so I'm going to connect that one to here. The black lead off of my meter is the negative, and so these two are connected. So that one would be, actually, let me I'll finish this up and then we'll write that in. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring this one kind of over around, and then I'm going to connect it here, and this one I'll bring around and I'll connect there. All right, so let's put this back on. And so if we look here, this one from the ammeter we connected to F15. And then this one, the negative lead, we have an A16. And then this other one we have in C16. Now if we notice here, once we're doing this, that in order to make these connected, they have to be in the same row. So this one that's connected to J3 and H3, they both have to be connected to 3. These two are connected in 8, J8, H8, H15, F15, A16, and C16. Another way to think about this, and we do this sometimes with the students with some highlighters, is if I have my two components here and I highlight this as a wire, so I'm just going to kind of show this as being a highlight. So this in the orange, I don't know why I wrote orange, but goes from the plus to the resistor. So if I pick one of these sockets, like this one, and in this case I just picked the 3, these are all connected. So that this is connected, that's connected there. And if I grabbed a different color, so let's say I do yellow, and I have yellow here, between the R1 and R2, I could do this, and now that's connected there. And if I grab another one, let's say I grab dark purple here, and I make this connection point, or this might be like a blue, and I connect these, those are connected. And then lastly, we'll do like a red here. So this would be like a red, and then that's showing this connection point. And so in order to make the circuit, we have to figure out where our connection points need to be, and then those connection points have to be in a column. All right, now let's look at a parallel example, and we'll use the actually just like we'll do the same series example with this one. So if I go back up, copy this drawing back on here. So I have my 9 volts, and then we had purple for resistor R1, and then we had blue for our resistor R2, and then we had green for our ammeter. And then showing this plugged in here. So here's our circuit. Okay. So for this one, I'm going to do it a little bit differently. The first thing I'm going to do is show my battery here. And I have my plus and my minus. So in the lab, what we're going to do is we're going to first connect a jumper from the it's like sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. What we're going to do first is connect a jumper from the positive here to the positive here, and then we'll also connect another jumper from the negative here to the negative here. That's a pretty common starting point. And so Looks like I missed a little bit here. Let's try to make that a little bit better. So that one's connected there, and that one's connected there. All right. So I jumpered my positives and my negatives together. So the first thing I need to do is connect my positive to the plus. Usually we do that with a red wire, and then the negative off my battery I'm going to connect here. So now all of the all of these pluses are 9 volts, and all of the minuses are 0 volts. Okay, so next what I'm going to do is, this one I'm going to do a little bit differently. I'm going to start off with the highlighting. So here is my first wire that connects the plus 9 volts to my resistor. And I'm just going to pick this as my yellow spot. Okay, so I need to connect my 9 volts to the yellow, and I need to connect my resistor to the yellow. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab a jumper wire, and I'm going to jumper these two together. And then I'm going to put my resistor, R1, which will start off up here, and that's going to be connected to the next spot. All right, the next one that I'm going to connect goes between R1 and R2, and I'm going to make that one in orange. So that's going to be this column. Again, I can pick any dot out of that column. Sometimes we highlight these, and so in some of the labs we'll highlight the colors on the print, and then we'll highlight them on here to show how they're connected. So then I'm going to connect this right here. All right, and then between, I need to draw my meter, so here, let's draw my meter again. Here's my display. Got it on milliamps. All right, and so next we'll do the blue, which should be R2. And R2 needs to be connected to the orange, so we'll do that. And then let's make a different color for that one. Do purple. So we have purple here, or whatever color that is. Okay, that's going to be these. It's like a navy blue. And so then this one would be connected like this. All right, and then the meter needs to be connected there. So this is the, on the meter connections, this is the positive. And so the positive lead, which will be here, is going to have to be connected there. You might need some special clamps or something like that in order for that to work. And then the negative lead, or the common, that's going to have to go to here. Okay, and so I just showed these as the black, and that would be the connection. So if you imagine that these are actually my resistors, this would be the connection showing we come out of the battery, we go jumpered over to the yellow, through R1, through R2, through the milliamp meter, and then back. All right. Okay, so let's look at a parallel circuit example. All right, so here I have a battery, and let's connect our resistors again. So we have R1, and then we have R2, and then we have R3. So these are our three resistors, and we want to connect them in parallel. So we're connecting them to our 9-volt supply, and then we're going to connect them in parallel. So then we'll connect this. We'll show these all connected in parallel here. All right, so these are all in parallel. So what I'm going to do this time is I'm going to put this on highlighter, and I'm going to highlight in yellow here the first node or the first connection point. When we see these dots on the schematic, we need to remember that this is like a wire nut, and so 1, 2, 3, 4 wires are going to get connected there. So what we do sometimes on these boards is we'll show, and I actually did this for some students last semester, that those connection points are all going to be yellow. And then what we're going to do is, let's use a different color this time. We'll use orange, and we'll highlight the bottom in orange. Okay, and then we come over here on our board, and then this is going to be the orange connection points. All right, so now let's go back to the pen. All right, so first thing I do is I'm going to draw my battery. Positive and negative. And if we look here, the negative off the battery has to be connected to the orange. So I'm going to come down here, and I'm going to make that connection there. The red on the battery needs to be connected to the yellow. So I'm going to draw it all the way around so I don't have to cross them. So the positive has to be connected to the yellow. Now let's look at R1. So I have R1 here. Okay, one side of R1 to the yellow, other side to the orange. So we go yellow and orange. Next resistor, we'll look at R2. So now I have R2, one side to the yellow, other side to the orange. So we'd connect it here and there. And then lastly, if we look at the green, we have R3. Oops. And somehow have lost the pen. So let's connect this one over here, and then we'll connect this one back here. Now you notice I kind of stretched them out a little bit, but that would be our connection. And we have R1, R2, and R3. They're all connected to the yellow on one side and the orange on the other. All right, now let's do the same thing for this breadboard. So here I'm going to start off, I'm going to draw the supply. And let's put in our resistors. R1, R2, and R3. Now this time I'm going to draw it just a little bit differently. I'm going to make the negative on my supply black. I'll show dots showing those are connected. And then the other side I'm going to draw in red. Okay. And again, we'll assume that this is a 9-volt supply. Now, for this one, what we're going to do, because these are all connected to the power source, I'm going to show my battery here. Positive and negative. And I'm going to connect my battery to the plus and minus on the board. And this is usually where we would connect the battery. So this is my 9-volt battery. Picture is not perfect, but Okay, and so if we look here, R1 is connected between positive and negative. So what I can do for R1 is, if this is my resistor R1, I could connect it one there and one there. Now I don't have to connect the positive. I can pick any of the reds, and I can pick any of the, I guess they're blue, but the negatives here, and it would be fine. I just can't put them in the same row, or row this way, um, so that they're both connected to the negative and the positive. So if I look here next at my R2, okay, one lead has to go into the negative, and one lead goes into the positive. Again, that one would be fine. They don't have to be next to each other in the same column. And then the last one I'm going to do for R3 is I'm going to connect this one here. And again, I can pick any of these, whatever one, as long as they're in the right row, I'm okay. Okay, so there's a parallel circuit example. A lot of times when we're using breadboards, we'll kind of adjust what we're going to connect to in order to make it either look right or make it easy to get it connected. All right, next let's look at a combination circuit example. And so a combination circuit, we have something in series and something in parallel. So let's look at this. So here we're going to have a resistor, and then an LED. And let me start this over. I should probably have different colors here so they're easier to see. So let's make our resistor here. We'll call this one R1, and then we'll have a LED. So this is our symbol for LED. Not a good symbol, but okay. And then let's add another resistor R2, and let's make that a different color too. And another LED, and we'll use blue for this one. And let's say that we have a 9-volt supply. All right, so here is our circuit. So for this one, what I'm going to do again is I'm going to start with my highlighter, and let's highlight this one first. Okay, and let's say that this is our yellow. And let's do, let's see, maybe light green here. And then that's going to be this one. And make this one kind of red. I know that's really dark. And then this one will make light blue. So we got lots of colors here. Oh my goodness. All right, so we have yellow here. Let's make the green. We'll make that one here. And then actually, I think this would work better. Let me go to the eraser. Let's get this one off of there. So I think I'm going to do this one like this. And then I'm going to make this one here red. and this one here, blue. Okay, so we got to be careful here because it's gonna get messy. All right, so let's go back to the pen and I'll click on here. So all right, first thing you need to do is try to draw a battery. Doesn't want me to draw a battery. Ah, come on. Guess we'll draw it over here. Oh my goodness. This is terrible. All right, here we go. All right, so now we're drawing again. So here's our battery. And let's make this time this one the plus and this the minus. So the minus has to go over to the green. So let's see if we can make that happen. And the plus needs to go over to the yellow highlight. Okay, so now I've made these two connections. Now let's start with R1. So we have our R1 here. Make it a little bit bigger so we can see it. All right, and then also our D1, which I'm going to draw kind of goofy. This is my D1. So this would be, actually no, let's do it like this. This would be like this. It'd be like a little LED like this. It's not a great drawing. Okay, so let's look at R1 first. So R1 needs to be connected to the yellow and then to the R1 is in purple to the blue. So that would be like this. And then our LED, oh, just a minute, let me just try this again. So we drew this, I didn't give these labels. This one we're going to call D1, and this one is going to be D2. So let's just make this look like this. This is my D1. Okay, so it's my LED. Doesn't really look like that, but that's okay. I have to connect the one side, the positive side, this is positive, to the blue. So that's going to get connected there. And then this is going to get connected to the green. Okay, so now I've made this circuit. Now if we look at the, maybe we'll do this one up here, I guess. So we have R2. Now if you look at R2, it has to go to the yellow and to the red. So that would be to the yellow, and then it's going to have to go to the red, which means I'm going to have to kind of jump across there and connect it like that. Okay, and then D2, which is in blue. So here's my diode symbol, D2. I need to connect D2 to the red and then to the green. So this one's going to have to go in through here like this, and then it's going to have to come down here and connect like that. Now I've made that combination circuit using this breadboard. All right, so now let's try to make that same circuit again using this one. All right, so first off, start off, draw my power supply. We put in R1. And we have our D1, then we had R2, oops, this one was supposed to be green, so D1, and then we had in blue D2, and then we needed to make our connections. And here's our 9-volt supply. All right, now for this one, I'm only going to highlight. I'm going to do this one just a little bit differently. I'm only going to highlight the red here, and we'll make this red. And then the blue. So we'll make this one blue. And it looks like let's go back to the pen. And we gotta show that this is still connected. All right. So let's go back to the highlighter, and blue we'll pick over here. All right, so for this one, we're gonna start off showing the battery. So here's my battery, positive and negative. So first thing, connect the positive over here, and then we'll connect the negative over there. All right, so now let's get the first resistor. First resistor, R1. So let's put R1 here. And R1 needs to be connected to the positive on the battery, and then it needs to be connected to the blue. Actually, let's move R1 out of the way here. And then we need to connect D1. So D1 needs to be connected from the blue to the negative. And then if we go to R1, R1 would be, or I'm sorry, R2. R2 has to go from the positive to the red. And then D2 needs to go from the red to the negative. And now we've made those connections. And so if we look at this, if you look at R1, for example, we go out of the positive through R1 to the blue, and then out and then back to D1. For R2, we go from the positive through the orange resistor here back through D2. All right, that is the end of this video. Thanks.